For medical E&M coding, it can really be quite simple, even though we're not going to be using protocols, if you just follow the same steps every time to get those 99 codes to populate appropriately. I'm going to set this patient up as if it's an emergency patient coming in for a red eye. It's not necessarily a follow-up, but it's a red eye patient that you're seeing. There's maybe a little bit of pre-testing going on, but you're not going to always be doing the full amount to get you to things turning green here in the vision summary. That's totally fine. For E&M codes, this area does not need to turn green in the vision summary. You're going to mark that your past family and social history was reviewed. That's an easy one. And then we're going to jump straight into the ocular exam. We always have to look at the eye. That's going to be the first step you take here in the top left. These are going to be the steps to get in and out with that patient. You will likely be doing this in front of the patient, so we'll do it quickly and efficiently so you can get the codes up, and then you're going to do the findings afterwards. We're going to perform an exam. If you click eye exam here in the new exam sets, that's going to be your anterior and posterior segment exam. If you would just like to do a slit lamp or anterior segment exam, you're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to pretend that's the case for this patient. Again, you don't have to do your findings right away. You have to do them eventually, but not right away. You'll get your E&M codes to come up even without that, but you do need to say that you did the exam. And then we're going to jump right down and make our diagnosis. We do need to do our ICD-10 expert to make sure that we have the correct ICD-10 coming over, one that's specified, one that has staging if necessary. And then we're going to do what I like to refer to as the trifecta, the trilogy, the magic 3, whatever you want to call it. You're going to do 3 things every time for a medical visit, and this is how you're going to get through that very quickly. As you make diagnoses, you're going to start seeing that they show up in your popular plans. You can see here that I've got my counseling, I've got my follow-up, I've got my treatment regimen. Click, click, click. You're done with the charting as far as getting your CPT codes to get that patient out the door really, really quick. If you do have to search, you're going to search counseling, you're going to select, you're going to go ahead and just add that. You're going to find follow-up or click it from the popular plans. Keep in mind that for follow-up, you need to add the plan. You can't just use the follow-up section down here, otherwise it won't count for your medical decision making. So add the follow-up plan, and then finally a treatment regimen. Even for something like cataracts where you're maybe not prescribing a drop, adding treatment regimen is going to give you a place to counsel what the care plan is for that patient. The only thing you need to click in here, if appropriate, is whether you're going to do over-the-counter drugs or prescription drugs, like I said, if appropriate. So cataracts, you wouldn't necessarily do this. For this patient, I plan on prescribing a medication. We'll hit done. We've done those 3 things. I like to double check the staging before I save. This is going to be a big part of what affects the level of complexity. There's a lot of ocular conditions that it defaults to this self-limited or minor, which can sometimes keep us in that level 2 code. A lot of what we do is actually a little more complicated than that. So this patient, maybe an acute uncomplicated, you could potentially justify that this is an acute complicated injury, and maybe it pushes you to a level 4, but your charting needs to have a lot of detail then to support that. You can't just do acute complicated and leave it simple. You would need to say concern for central scarring, maybe a patient is allergic to a lot of medications, maybe it's not responding to certain medications, maybe you're going to have to refer to a corneal specialist quickly and you're spending a lot of time on the phone. All of those things justify making it more complicated, but you're going to have more notes the more complicated the chart is. So we're going to leave this as a pretty straightforward acute uncomplicated, or maybe even an undiagnosed new problem that we're not sure how it's going to go. We'll hit save, we'll hit done, and with those 3 simple clicks, we've already got our level 3 coding. Charges can be sent over for this patient by just going home here, hitting integrations, hitting send. You're done with the billing portion as far as getting that patient out the door. Then when you're all finished, you've got some free time, maybe you're at lunch, you can go ahead and add all of your findings after the fact when you've actually got the time to sit and go through it. You'll just want to be complete. You'll want to make sure in your counseling you have something that's a little more specific to the patient. If you just leave it as your the protocols, or I'm sorry, not the protocols, the preset information, that can be subject to failing an audit just because it doesn't look like you actually provided any of the care yourself. So you'll want to put a little something. It doesn't need to be complicated, just something more than like monitor or observe. Something simple like that, but something that's custom to that patient. I have some doctors that like to put that on all caps. I like to space it down a few spots with some fill in here. That way my custom education shows up down below. I'm going to say what specifically my follow-up time frame is for that patient. Maybe we're going to say what we're going to see that patient for. If we do any diagnostics, that's a great way to order them. Maybe not the correct thing for this patient. And then finally, we're going to say what our care plan is. Like I said, all of that can be done after the patient leaves. It's getting the simple parts, the fact that you looked at the eye, and then a counseling follow-up treatment regimen needs to be added. Put the details in after. One thing I'll note while we're here, if you're doing any special testing that day, whether it's ordered after the patient's already arrived, so in a comprehensive that you decide, this patient's glaucoma suspect, let's run an OCT. Maybe there's a new nevus that you want to image at a comprehensive exam. Or during your, flashes and floaters visit, you decide you need to do medical photos, anything like that. Any special testing that's done for any scenario needs to be ordered in the chief complaint or somewhere in the chief complaint section. If it's a glaucoma follow-up that you already ordered last time, that's obviously going to be included in a chief complaint that's why the patient is presenting. For anything else, I like to add that to the additional HPI comments. Maybe I noted an epiretinal membrane on their comprehensive during the fundus exam. I can write something like this. That's as simple as it is for ordering testing. So any of your charts, if we're doing audits and we're sending back about that's as simple as it gets. It doesn't need to be anything complicated. You just have to justify doing any of that testing.